Hello, everyone. This is Preacher Man Piper, Doc Hatfield, coming to you with the second part of the beginning. When they realized that I didn't die after a year, the preacher, he asked them, said, well, what, he can't eat, what can we do? They said, well, you have to understand he has what's called irreversible malnutrition. And that kills his wanting to eat. When he looks at food, it don't do nothing for him. When you give him a bite of food and tell him to eat it, he can't. It just almost makes him sick to think about it. And said, until he overcomes that, he'll never eat. But so to tell you what I would do if I was you, and it might help, we don't know, but I'm just giving you some suggestions here. If you will take him home and put him in a chair at the dinner table and put a little small bowl in front of him and tell him that you want him to eat it. Now, at first, just do that during the meals. Then after a week or so, tell him this. You have to stay here at the table until you eat at least 1 spoonful of food. Just 1 spoonful. Try that on him and see what it does for him. So that's what they did. He took me back to the house and they set me up at the table and they put a little bowl of food in front of me and said, Buster, if you wanna eat, if you'll eat that little bowl, we think you'll really like it. Well, I didn't eat it. They did that meal after meal after meal after meal after meal. Then one day they said to me, you have to eat 1 spoonful of food to get put down from the table. If you don't, you're going to be here all day long. Well, I was there all day long. Day after day after day, week after week after week, month after month after month. Now, I drank the milk and I drank the water, but I didn't eat no food. So after the second year, I contracted rheumatic fever. And so there I was, I couldn't eat. Now I couldn't walk because my leg was drawn up to my hip. My right leg was drawn all the way up to my hip. So I laid in bed 24 hours a day. And the doctor said, well, that'll only last a few weeks and he'll be up and going again. Well, it didn't last a few weeks. 10 months later, I still hadn't eaten anything, but 10 months later, my dad came in from church one Saturday night after studying for his sermon on Sunday morning, and he bowed down by my bed and he prayed this prayer. Now, of course, I didn't know it then. I was told this much later on. He prayed this prayer. He said, Lord, if you will heal this boy's rheumatic fever and let him walk again, I will adopt him and raise him for your glory. You can put him in the largest church in America, or you can take him to the deepest parts of Africa and kill him. If it'll be for your glory, but whatever will be for your glory through him, I will raise him for your glory. Well, he just got up and went to bed. Now, he was a Baptist preacher. He really didn't believe in divine healing, but he just prayed that prayer. And by praying that prayer, he was going against his wife. His wife did not want to adopt a child. She didn't even want a homeless child in her home anymore. She'd been dealing with that for years and years, and I was the exception. Now, in all of this time, they had found a home for my brother. And so he went to live with a big newspaper mogul, and they told this preacher, they said, now, preacher, we're going to have all of his records destroyed. He's never going to know he's adopted. We're going to raise him to know that he was always part of our family, which he had the right to do. And my dad said, well, that's your decision. So anyway, they found a home for my brother. Well, then, this night that my dad prayed this prayer, the next morning I woke up, my leg was straight. I jumped out of bed, went in, and I woke him up in his bed, and he like to had a heart attack. He plopped up from there. He said, my goodness. And he said, you all right? And I guess I said yes. So for the very first time in my life, I went to church. Of course, I don't remember nothing about it, but I went. So when they got back home to their house for lunch, he told the family, he said, I need to talk to you. He said, take the boy into his bedroom. So they took me into my bedroom, and then his wife and two sons were sitting at the table, and said, I told the Lord last night if he would heal this boy and make him walk again, I'd raise him for his glory. So I'm going to have to adopt him. And the two boys said, well, we already considered him our brother anyway. And so they got up and left, and his wife said, I told you how I feel about that. I don't want no adopted kids. And he said, but I promised the Lord and see what the Lord did. And she said, well, how do you know it just didn't happen? And he said, well, all I know is I prayed last night, and all I know is this morning he's walking. So he said, I can't go against what I promised the Lord. And she said, well, okay. She said, here's the deal. You can adopt him. But I'm not going to call him son. I'm not going to treat him like a son. I'll raise him just like raising turnips in a garden. But I'm only doing it because of you. But he'll never be my son, regardless of his name. So he said, well, I've already called the governor and said, we've got an appointment in Oklahoma City at 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, at 10 o'clock in the morning, they took me up to the governor, and about 2 hours later, I walked out of there, And that was the end. I was adopted. Problem was, I still wasn't eating. They couldn't explain why I couldn't eat. But it was a while after that, a few months after that, that one day I was sitting at the table, just like I always sit at the table, and they had some kind of food there, and they had a spoon there, and for the first time in probably, well, in my life, first time in my life, and I think I was probably about 3.5 years old, I took a bite of food. But the thing was that for the next 12, or not the next 12 years, but until I was 12 years old, did I ever take to eating normal. Couldn't understand why. Nobody understood it. I just took it as normal. Everybody else ate. I would eat a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons full of food, and that was it. And that was just per day. Now, that was not per meal. But in March, after I turned 12, I walked in one morning and told my mother, I said, I want a piece of chicken. She like to had a heart attack and said, sit down. She went and called my dad and told him I had to be rushed to the hospital. He comes home, sees me sitting there and says, what do you mean you've got to take him to the hospital? What's wrong with him? And she said, well, he wants a piece of chicken. She said, he said, are you crazy? Give him a piece of chicken. He's never asked for nothing in his life. So for the next 2 months, I tried eating food, I'd throw it up. I tried eating food, I'd throw it up. I tried, throw it up, tried, throw it up. Didn't look like I was ever going to get to eating food. But all of a sudden, I was wanting stuff. And I didn't know why, because I didn't know what none of it tasted like. And then when my mother's birthday came on the 25th of May, that was the first time that I ate without throwing up. And I went in and told my mother, I said, there's your birthday gift, I didn't throw up. And she said, okay, now I'm going to bed, get out of here. So, that summer, I grew 4 sizes. I got into bodybuilding. I was 12 years old, but I got into bodybuilding, and the rest is history. But God's a good God. God knew at that time that I'd begin to eat normal. Now, would you believe that the doctors still say I have, or at least I guess they do. I haven't talked to one in a while, in a good long while about this. But the last doctor I seen about this said I still have irreversible malnutrition. It don't make sense. It's just a technical term now. It don't mean nothing. So I don't care. I don't care, but pass the biscuits and gravy, please. Thank you so much for listening to me. I've had it twice now, and I'm just going to say this one time. Twice I've had people hear my story, and then they'd ask me if I'm telling the truth. Let me say something to you. I'm a child of the King. He called me into his ministry at the age of 15. I've been preaching his word well over 50 years. I've been playing his music well over 50 years. My God is too precious to me. My Jesus is too precious to me that I would sit here and lie about anything. This is just my life story. And I'm just wanting to share it with you. I don't have nothing else to talk to you about on here. I don't know how to talk about tobacco. I can talk about a pipe, but who wants to hear about a pipe? Everybody's heard about a pipe. So I got on here to honor the subs that had subbed my channel before I put anything on here. And I just wanted to put something on here to honor them, and then it's starting to grow. And so I thank you so much for subbing to my channel, and I hope that this is something that you like to hear, and I hope it's a blessing to you. So now, let me say, may the good Lord shower his grace upon you. Rain his mercy down upon you. May you have all your needs met, have all your circumstances taken care of. And until I see you again, God bless.